Hi, today I'm going to try and give you some new ideas for lunch, and one of my favorite ways to pack my own lunch that gets my creative juices flowing and is kind of a fun way to eat is using bento lunch boxes. For some reason it seems different and more interesting, and then it's kind of a snacky lunch where you get to bring a bunch of little things and snack on them, and it's very satisfying to me for some reason to fill up all the little sections of a bento box. So I have 3 that I use all the time. This was the first one that I got, which is called a Lunchbox. That's the brand. And I just bought one for a friend for Christmas. Clearly, we're filming at Christmas. And they had a smaller one for toddlers. So it was about 2/3 the size. And together with her mom, we thought it might be a nice way to get her more excited about eating new foods was to present them in an interesting container. So this one works for pretty much everything. The only issue is that, like really wet foods, it won't keep them from running into the other compartments, but I'll give you some ideas where that won't matter at all. I use this one quite regularly too, and this one works a lot better. As you can see, you can put wet foods in there and put the lid on there, and they're all going to be kept separate. And this area particularly is really handy for dips and spreads and treats and stuff. So I just like the sizes of the different compartments. You can see like this one's really large, so you could put something more substantial in here than you could in some of those. And this one is Planet Box. And it's really different. I really like it too, and they actually sell individual containers that you can put in here with lids. So if you wanted to put something wet in, they make a container that fits this shape with a lid on it. But one of the ways you can get sort of around that, I'm making so much racket, is these silicone muffin liners. They just work perfectly, especially for this one. So I put, if I'm going to do hummus or olives or peanut butter or something, then these work perfectly. And especially if it's something like thick like peanut butter or olives that aren't really going to drip or spill, then it's good enough to just put the lid on like that. And I just make sure to keep it flat as I travel to work, and then I just put it in the fridge like that. So I wanted to give you some ideas for filling the bento boxes. And since I'm a dietitian, of course, I'm thinking about nutrition and yumminess when I'm packing. So I try and think of, do I have a protein, a carb, and a fat? Do I have some kind of vegetable or fruit, which there might be some overlap in nutrients there? And then do I have a treat? I usually like to have something sweet right at the end. So if we start with protein, certainly peanut butter is one of the easiest ones. And that works really great if you have crackers as your carb or apple as your produce. And cheese always is lovely. But some interesting ones you might not have thought of. Have you seen these freeze-dried cheese products? I've seen them pretty widely available now, like at Fred's and Costco. So it's freeze-dried Parmesan, and that's really all it is Parmesan cheese. There's nothing weird added to it. And they freeze-dried it, and so it doesn't have to be refrigerated. So they're like a crispy little cheesy cracker. And you get to have 19 of them for a serving, which is 150 calories, which feels very generous when you get to put 19 of these into one of the little containers in your bento box. So these are a lovely option for protein. Hummus, I'm sure, is not a new idea for you. One of my very favorites is to just bake up some tofu cubes at home. These have just been baked with sesame oil and soy sauce, really simple, and then put them in the fridge, and I actually enjoy eating them cold. You could certainly heat them up, but they just pack so nicely. They're sturdy, they're tasty, and they're a wonderful source of protein. Nuts are fantastic too. These are one of my favorites. These are salt and pepper pistachios. And then these are pretty widely available now too. These are roasted chickpeas, and they come in a variety of flavors. These are sea salt, but they make cinnamon sugar and buffalo and ranch. And so they're a crispy, salty snack, but they're made out of chickpeas, so they're a really decent source of protein and other nutrients. And then if you like doing peanut butter, you can also get these little individual packets of peanut butter that would pack so nicely into one of the little containers here and just be a good way to send peanut butter to travel. For carbohydrates, obviously the standard bread, but just to make that a little more interesting, I saw the idea on social media to use mini waffles. And especially if you're packing a bento lunch for a kid, you can imagine this would be very exciting to find in your lunch as a mini waffle. And you can make little mini waffle sandwiches with peanut butter and jam in them. I've seen people do chicken and waffles where they'll put chicken nuggets in for a kid, and I'm not sure how they heat them up at lunchtime, and then these little waffles. So just an interesting finger food that again fits quite nicely in these little containers. Crackers, these are wheat thins. Tortilla chips, of course. I'm a fan of these Nature's Bakery fig bars too. They come in a bunch of different flavors, but they just, if you take them out of the package, they just fit perfectly in one of these containers, and they're whole grain and they have a little bit of fruit in them. And most of the people I recommend them to end up coming back and telling me that they liked them. So, and then just for myself, I make naan bread at home, and so if I was going to bring this in my lunch, I would cut it up into tiny pieces, or smallish pieces, to put them in one of the little sections of the bento. You could certainly also do, if you have leftover pizza from dinner last night, you can cut that up into little squares and stack that in here. That's pretty exciting to find in your lunch at lunchtime, that you get to have cold pizza. So protein, carbohydrate, fat. Certainly a really portable, healthy fat is olives, and they can be green or black. Almond butter does kind of double duty. Same with peanut butter. They count as a protein, but also a healthy fat. So almond butter would be a nice option, as would almonds. Plain almonds are great. Salted almonds are great. My personal favorite right now is smokehouse almonds. They just have a really delicious, savory flavor. So that's what I have here. And then I get these at Trader Joe's, so they may not be that easy to find. All right, I'm just going to show it to you through the jar. They are sweetened chunks of coconut, and the texture is really pleasing, and they're so delicious to eat with some dark chocolate chips and some plain almonds in my lunch. When I make a little mix of the coconut, almonds, and dark chocolate. Fantastic. So protein, carb, and fat. And then I try and do some kind of produce, like a fruit or a vegetable. A really easy one to prep in the morning is just to cut up a bell pepper. I love that. And then certainly I would probably use hummus as my protein. The satsumas work great just tucking them into the box, but sometimes when I have extra time in the morning, I'll actually peel them and just put the sections in. Certainly travel applesauce. I'm a big fan lately of the golden kiwis, and these are nice to cut up and tuck in to one of the compartments, or just sliced cucumber too. And then typically I would just eat that plain, or I might bring hummus. And then lastly, something sweet if you're interested. So certainly dark chocolate, just to break off a square or two, again, fits so nicely in some of these. It's like they want you to put chocolate in them, because look at that. It's the perfect spot for just one square of dark chocolate. Dates are a lovely option for sweets because they're a fruit. They're naturally sweet. They actually have some nutrients and vitamins and minerals. And I've seen lots of ideas on the internet for making them more exciting for a treat, is to fill them with peanut butter and a couple of chocolate chips. And then you have this really sweet little date container that's chewy and a little bit caramely. And then you put peanut butter and chocolate chips in it. It's fantastic. And a pretty nutritionally reasonable treat to have. And then I discovered chocolate tahini spread, and it's one of my very favorite things to take in my lunch as a treat, because it's made out of sesame seeds, sugar, and cocoa powder. So again, it's counting as my sweet. It does have added sugar, but it also has a pretty decent amount of protein and potassium, and sesame seeds are pretty nutritious. My favorite way to have this is to bring this as my sweet treat, and then to bring fresh strawberries. Fantastic to dip the strawberries in the chocolate tahini dip. So hopefully I've given you some inspiration to maybe try bento lunches, just to make your own lunch more interesting or exciting to pack and to eat. Or if you're packing a lunch for someone else, it might be a nice, exciting thing to try for something new. And so many nutritious options that you can use to fill all the little compartments. Okay, thanks.